On a cold evening in March 2025, I returned home from Boston's gray streets. The old lock creaked as I opened the door, the wind's howl slipping inside and slapping my coat's collar against my face. 8 hours at the bookstore, swallowing dust among old volumes, answering endless customer questions, had left my shoulders sagging. I hung my bag on the rusty hook by the entrance, my boots echoing on the bare wooden floor of the narrow hallway. Rubbing my hands, I eased my fingers, numb from carrying heavy boxes all day. I'm Pearl, 25, and my body already feels borrowed, worn out. This night, though, was where my story stopped being someone else's. Stepping into the living room, the air felt oddly heavy, like the last breath before the sky cracks, silent yet menacing. The lamp flickered with a pale orange glow. Worn armchairs, patched blankets, and cracked picture frames were the same, usual clutter. But something was off, missing or extra, a familiar unease, a shadow I'd carried since childhood. My mother, Elena Harris, stood in the center like a statue, hands on hips, graying hair in a messy bun. 54 years of anger etched deep lines into her face, her eyes a frozen storm locked on me. "You're finally here," she said, her voice slashing the silence like a hammer. It wasn't a welcome, an accusation. My sister, Sofia Harris, perched on the edge of the couch, 22 thin arms wrapped around her knees, wearing that familiar innocent mask. Her hair fell over her face, but her eyes, bright, calculating, fixed on me. The lamp's light caught a crumpled paper on the coffee table, Northeastern University's seal, edges torn. My breath quickened, a tightness in my chest. I knew, even without reading it, this was a harbinger of disaster. Elena snatched the paper, her fingers trembling as she unfolded it. "Academic dishonesty," she said, her voice cracking through the room like a whip. "Expulsion, effective immediately." Sofia's mask had slipped. Years of laziness, stealing my work to coast through college, had collapsed. But Elena's eyes pinned me to the doorway, and I knew what was coming, the game I'd known since childhood. "This is your fault," she said, slow and heavy. "You cornered Sofia. She had no choice but to cheat." Her words hit like a punch, knocking the air from my lungs. "What?" I said, my voice shaky, barely audible. I leaned against the wall, the peeling paint scraping my palm, as if something could hold me up. Sofia looked up, lips trembling but eyes dry. "You always have to be the best," she said, low but sharp. "I just wanted to get out of your shadow." "The best? Me?" The world flipped, shadows twisted, light fractured. This is madness, I thought, but my tongue stayed still. I'd spent my life in their shadow, covering Sofia's mistakes, swallowing Elena's blame. At 8, Elena scolded me for apples Sofia stole from the neighbor's yard. Yet Sofia smirked as she ate them. On my birthdays, I unwrapped old sweaters from torn packages while Sofia played with brand new toys. Elena said, "Sofia deserves nice things." My share was always leftovers, always Sofia, always my fault. Elena stepped closer, her hand clamping my arm, nails digging in, cold and sharp. "This family did everything for you," she hissed, her breath a harsh wind on my face. "And this is how you repay us? By ruining Sofia." Her grip tightened, that familiar vice, control masked as care. I glanced at Sofia, on the couch, guilty yet playing innocent. "Nobody wants you here," Sofia said, clear and cold. Elena nodded, affirming it, and in that moment something inside me collapsed, silent but profound. That cold March 2025 night, I stood in the narrow hallway of our Boston home, the sting of Elena's nails still burning my arm. Sofia's "Nobody wants you here" echoed in my ears, sealed by Elena's nod. I retreated to the kitchen, old linoleum floors cold underfoot, a half-empty teacup on the counter, its brown ring like a dried tear. The lamp buzzed as I stood there, my mind slipping back to childhood, to the shadows where I'd been the scapegoat. I'm Pearl, and these memories mapped the cracks within me. I was 8, summer heat thick, when apples were stolen from the neighbor's yard. Elena dragged me by the arm, her fingers bruising my skin. "Why'd you make Sofia do it?" she'd yelled, her voice shaking the trees. But I'd stood by the fence, watching Sofia smirk as she bit into an apple. Not my crime, her glee. When the neighbor complained, Elena blamed me. Sofia was innocent, always innocent. No apology came. That night in my room, moonlight seeping through torn curtains, I'd whispered, "Why me?" No answer, just silence. At 11, there was an art contest at school. I'd spent hours painting a garden, flowers, sky, freedom. Winning, I ran home to show Elena, hoping for once she'd be proud. But Sofia met me at the door, my painting in hand, her name scrawled over it. "I made it," she'd said, eyes gleaming. Elena smiled. "My Sofia's so talented," stroking her head. When I tried to take it back, Elena snapped. "Stop being jealous, Pearl," her voice a cold blade. The painting hung on the wall, Sofia's work, while I cried in my room, paint-stained hands trembling. Christmas mornings were worse. 14, I opened a second-hand coat, sleeves too short, buttons missing, while Sofia rode a shiny new bike. Elena cooed, "Sofia deserves nice things," her tone sweet but sharp. I got leftovers, old sweaters, worn shoes. Once I asked, "Don't I deserve something too?" my voice quivering. Elena frowned, "You don't need spoiling." Sofia giggled, a small, needling laugh, and pedaled off. Something tightened inside me, love but twisted, bent. 17, I worked 2 jobs, cafe cashier, night shift stocking shelves. Every penny saved for a car, for freedom. But Elena came home one day. "Sofia needs a new laptop," her voice commanding. "Give your money." When I protested, she shouted, "Sacrifice for family," eyes blazing. I gave it, my car gone, Sofia's room glowing with a sleek laptop. "No thanks." That night on my bed, staring at ceiling stains, I'd asked, "When will this end?" Silence again. In the kitchen, I picked up the teacup, its cold ceramic chilling my fingers. Sofia's "Nobody wants you here" rang, a childhood echo. Elena's blame, Sofia's innocent mask. Always my fault, always my sacrifice. Why? Their love was conditional, lavish for Sofia, thorny for me. Am I perfect? I thought, recalling Sofia's accusation. No, I wasn't perfect, just their scapegoat. The lamp flickered, shadows danced on the walls. Childhood memories weighed on my shoulders, my sacrifices exploited, no justice. But that moment something stirred, cold, silent, strong. "Enough," I said, my voice bouncing in the kitchen. This house, this family, they didn't want me, but maybe I didn't want them. My cracks were seeds of rebellion, and they were starting to sprout. That cold March 2025 night, I set the teacup on the kitchen counter in our Boston home. Elena's nail marks still burned, Sofia's "Nobody wants you here" tolling like a bell. The lamp buzzed, casting faint shadows on my face. Childhood memories, apple thefts, stolen paintings, lost savings, swirled like a storm. I'm Pearl, 25, and that moment something crystallized, cold, silent, resolute rebellion. I'd leave this house, this family. Elena's sharp footsteps echoed from the living room, boots striking the floorboards, each step an accusation. "Pearl," she shouted, slamming the kitchen door open. "Don't just stand there, do something." Sofia remained on the couch, wrapped in a blanket, playing guilty innocence. Her eyes flicked to me, lips twitching. Do something, huh? For 20 years I'd done things, covered their mistakes, carried their burdens. But now? Enough. "What should I do, Elena?" I said, low but sharp, for the first time not calling her mom. She looked up, brows rising in shock. It was a challenge, and she knew it. "Save Sofia," she said, commanding. "You ruined her life, now fix it." Sofia dipped her head, a fake sigh as she tugged the blanket, performing as always. Ruined, I said, laughing inside. Her cheating, her lies. Did I write that letter? Elena stepped forward, her hand trembling in the air. I thought she'd slap me, but she stopped. Sacrifice for family, she hissed, eyes blazing. Sacrifice. That word churned my stomach. Poison stuck to my tongue for years. Sacrifice, I said, my voice rising, echoing in the kitchen. At 17, I gave my car savings for Sofia's laptop. 14, I had no coat while she rode a bike. At 8, I took the blame for her stolen apples. How much more sacrifice? Elena's face froze. Sofia averted her eyes. My words exploded like a bomb. For the first time, they were silent, but it wasn't victory, just emptiness. I headed to my room, the narrow stairs creaking under me. My small space, cold, gray, a single window, patched bedspread. I pulled my suitcase from the closet, dust puffing as it hit the floor. Where am I going? I asked myself, hands shaking as I stuffed clothes inside. I didn't know, but staying, breathing here another day, felt like a rope around my neck. My bookstore pay was meager, but it'd cover a week's rent. I'd find something somehow. Nobody wants you here, Sofia had said. Maybe she was right, but this time I didn't want them either. Elena appeared at the door, her shadow stretching across the threshold. What are you doing? She asked, voice hard but brittle, a crack I'd never heard. Leaving, I said, zipping the bag without looking up. You can't, she said, gripping the frame. You need us. I laughed, dry, bitter. You need me, I said, cold. But I'm done being your scapegoat. I slung the suitcase over my shoulder, pushed past her. Down the stairs, I caught Sofia's stunned gaze but didn't stop. I opened the door, Boston's cold air hitting my face, sharp but free. Pearl! Elena yelled behind me, desperate. I didn't turn. My steps echoed on the street, a weight lifting inside. For years, I'd buckled under their blame, my sacrifices exploited, their love a twisted chain. But this decision was my silent rebellion, my first stand against an unjust family. Where was I going? I didn't know, but leaving this house, these shadows, was my first step to freedom. The suitcase swung on my shoulder as I whispered, "Enough!" And that moment, I truly believed it. That cold March 2025 night, I walked Boston streets with my suitcase, Elena's desperate "Pearl" fading behind me. Streetlights cast dim pools on the pavement, the wind slicing through my coat and chilling my bones. My steps were firm, but a storm raged inside. Where was I going? My bookstore pay, $300 a week. Would it cover a room? I didn't know. I'm Pearl, 25, and this was my first night free from my family's shadows, tough but liberating. I headed north to cheaper neighborhoods. Neon signs flickered, old cars rusted at corners. I pulled out my phone, its cold light showing rental listings. North End, single room, $250 per week, shared bath, the cheapest. I texted, "Can I move in now?" Reply came fast. "Yes, bring cash." My suitcase swayed as I found the address. An old building, bricks crumbling, stairs reeking of rust. I knocked, a woman answered. Lydia, 40s, cigarette-stained hands, tired eyes. "Money up front, room's yours," she said, voice flat. I handed over $250, a week's labor slipping from my palm. The room was tiny, a single bed, cracked window, leaky radiator in the corner. I dropped my suitcase, sat on the creaky mattress, thin, stained bedding. "This is home now," I said to myself, my voice bouncing in the empty space. Elena's "You need us" echoed. I laughed, bitter. I didn't need them, they needed me, but I wouldn't carry their weight anymore. Cold air seeped through the window, Boston's noise, car horns, a distant siren, all foreign but free. Next morning, I went to the bookstore. Old shelves, dusty books, a familiar refuge. After my shift, I knew I needed a second job, $250 rent, food bills, my pay wouldn't stretch. I wandered scanning signs. Cafe help wanted caught my eye. Inside, the counter guy, Marco 30s bearded, asked, "Experience?" "Yes," I lied. Hauling books wasn't brewing coffee, but I'd learn. "Night shift, $12 per hour," he said. I nodded. 2 jobs now, mornings and nights. The first week was brutal, stacking shelves by day, washing dishes by night. My hands pruned, feet ached. I walked home after shifts, streets quiet, sky gray. In my room, the radiator hissed, but I shivered, my blanket thin, wind sneaking through. One night, I messed up an order at the cafe. Marco yelled, "Pay attention, Pearl!" I apologized, but a voice inside snapped, "This my fault too?" Elena's blame still haunted me. But this time, I wasn't saving anyone, I was building my life. One night in my room, an old notebook fell from my suitcase. Notes from 17 car savings tallied. I flipped through, each number a dream lost to Sofia's laptop. "Sacrifice," I muttered, mimicking Elena's voice. I tore it up, pieces scattering. That moment, a chain snapped inside. For years, their scapegoat, every mistake mine, every burden mine. But here, in this moldy room, I was for me, my exploited sacrifices left behind. I walked to the window, gazed at Boston's lights, distant, alive. "I'll make it," I said, voice firm. 2 jobs wore my body down, but freed my spirit. Elena and Sofia's shadows lingered, but faded each day. This tough beginning was my silent rebellion, carving my path against an unfair family. On the bed, I pulled up my blanket. The radiator buzzed, but warmth grew inside. For the first time, I was living for me. Early April 2025, Boston's chill gave way to a mild spring breeze. In my North End room, the cracked window let in air that no longer bit, carrying flower scents from outside. Bookstore mornings and cafe nights strained my body. Hands still coffee-stained, feet sore. But something shifted. I'm Pearl, 25, and this was the start of finding my way after years of exploited sacrifices. My suitcase gathered dust in the corner as a spark grew inside, toward success. 2 jobs barely covered rent and bills, $1,200 monthly, $1,000 gone. One night, washing dishes at the cafe, Marco asked, "Pearl, why work so hard?" Eyes down, I said, "To survive, true but incomplete." I wanted more than survival, to escape Elena and Sofia's shadows, to answer their blame. That night in my room, I grabbed my phone, old, screen cracked, but functional. Scrolling online, an idea sparked. I could start a business. My bookstore experience, knowing old books, suggesting titles, could be useful. "Why not sell used books?" I said, my voice echoing. I jotted notes, pick a platform, find books, sell. Next day, I got permission at the bookstore. Cheap, unsold stock was mine. That week, $50 bought 20 books, worn covers but valuable. I snapped photos with my phone, opened an account on an online marketplace, Pearl's Pages. My first sale came a week later, $10, small but a real win. Months passed, the business grew. I sourced books from the bookstore and thrift shops. I quit the cafe, Marco teased, ditching me, but his eyes shone with pride. Nights, I packed orders in my room, cardboard boxes and tape rolls piled on my desk. In 6 months, I made $2,000 monthly. After rent, money stayed in my pocket. One morning, my bank showed $500 saved. My first savings, not for Sofia's laptop, but mine. By spring 2026, business boomed. A customer shared Pearl's Pages online, orders poured in. I left the bookstore, bidding farewell to old shelves with a pang but greater freedom. I rented a small depot, an old garage, my kingdom. I bought gear, a computer, printer, better phone. Monthly, I earned $10,000. I wasn't rich, but secure. A year later, 2027, I bought a house. Small, modern, South Boston, flowers visible from the window. My account hit $100,000. I couldn't have dreamed it. That evening in my new kitchen, I brewed coffee. The counter gleamed, cups fresh. "I did it," I said, voice trembling. Elena's "you need us" surfaced. I laughed, not bitter, victorious. I'd been their scapegoat, sacrifices exploited, love a twisted chain. Now, I'd risen on my own, not covering Sofia's mistakes, but for me. From the window, my garden bloomed, like me. I recalled my old notebook, car savings lost to Sofia. Now I had a car, red, shiny, parked outside. "Sacrifice," I mocked, mimicking Elena. But this time, my sacrifice was for me, and it paid off. My success journey, fruit of my silent rebellion, I'd found my worth against an unfair family. Sipping coffee, I said, "This is me," and that moment it truly was. Late May 2027, a mild evening in my South Boston home. From my kitchen's wide window, my garden's flowers glowed. Purple tulips, yellow daffodils, a piece I'd planted. Coffee maker hummed, scent filling the air, everything new mine. I'm Pearl 27 and Pearl's pages brought me here. $15,000 monthly, $150,000 saved. Rich, perhaps not, but free. Then my phone buzzed, an unknown number, Boston code. I answered, and everything shifted. "Pearl." Elena's voice, fragile, shaky, unlike anything I'd heard. My heart raced. I set the coffee down. "What do you want?" I said cold, 2 years since I'd called her mom. She paused then. "Sofia, she's in trouble," breathless. "Debts, big debts. And I'm sick." Her words hung, piercing the kitchen's quiet. "Sick, huh?" Elena always had a dramatic streak. Childhood colds became tragedies. But this time, her voice held real fear. "How much debt?" I asked, unwillingly, curiosity or anger I couldn't tell. $50,000, she said, voice crumbling. "Credit cards, gambling." Sofia lost control. Gambling? I knew her laziness, but this was new. Elena's desperation startled me. "And you?" I said, brows rising. "Cancer," she said, the word forced out. "Treatment's costly, insurance isn't enough." I fell silent, a war inside, anger, pity, a strange void. I hung up, stood in the kitchen, the coffee cooled, a stain on the cup's rim. Sofia in debt, Elena ill, the family crisis had reached my door. My mind drifted, 17, my car savings taken for Sofia's laptop, Elena's sacrifice for family shout. 8, blamed for Sofia's apples. "Nobody wants you here," Sofia had said. Now they needed me. I laughed, dry, bitter. Ironic, wasn't it? Next day, Sofia texted, "Pearl, we need to talk." "Please." Unknown number, but hers, I knew. I didn't reply. What could I say? "I'll pay your debts?" "Get well." But unease grew. Should I see them? 2 years ago, I'd left that house, suitcase in hand, walking those cold streets, saying, "Enough." Now my hard-won life faced their crisis. I walked to the window, gazed at my garden. Flowers stood, but shadows lengthened. A week later, Elena called again. "Pearl, please," she begged, voice frail. "Sofia's losing the house. I'm in the hospital." "Help." I paused, a storm inside. "Why me?" I said, harsh. "You made me your scapegoat for years. What's changed?" She hesitated, then, "You're right," an unexpected admission. "But I've got no one else." I hung up, hands trembling this time. In my room, I sat on my bed, new sheets, soft, clean. Pearl's pages, this house, this life, my labor's fruit. Elena and Sofia had exploited my sacrifices, their love twisted, unjust. Now, their crisis knocked, and I didn't know what to do. "Nobody wants you here," Sofia had said. Now they did, but would that erase the past? The wind through the window hit my face, cold, but decision time loomed. Their crisis would test my silent rebellion. I wasn't ready yet. Late May 2027, Boston's spring air carried a sweet floral scent to my garden. In my new kitchen, the coffee maker sat silent. Elena's "Pearl, please help, please" still rang. Sofia's $50,000 debt, Elena's cancer. Their crisis had crept back from the shadowed world I'd left 2 years ago. I'm Pearl, 27, and Pearl's pages, my $150,000 savings modern home, now faced their desperation. My phone lay quiet on the table, but a storm brewed inside. What would I do? One morning, a knock, sharp, unexpected. I opened the door. Sofia stood there. 2 years unseen, hair messy, eyes sunken, an old denim jacket. "Pearl," she said, voice shaky but familiar. "Can I come in?" I paused. Anger flared, but a strange pity stirred. "Come in," I said, swinging the door wide. She shuffled to the kitchen, collapsed into a chair, hands clasped on the table, nails dirty. "What do you want?" I said, voice cold, still unable to call her sister. "It's over," she said, eyes dropping. "Debts?" I gambled, messed up. "I'm evicted. Elena's in the hospital, gave up on me." She looked up, eyes wet. Not theater this time, real. "I've no right to ask," she said, voice frail. "But I've got no one." I fell silent, a war inside. "Nobody wants you here," she'd said 2 years ago, now begging at my door. "Why me?" I said, harsh. "You blamed me for years. What's changed?" Sofia paused, then, "You're right," an unexpected confession. "I wronged you, didn't fight Elena's blame, used your sacrifices." Her eyes welled, but no tears. "I'm desperate, Pearl, please." Her words hung, piercing the kitchen's quiet. Through Elena, now Sofia begged, stirring something in me. Anger? Pity? I couldn't tell, but past wrongs played like a film. That evening, a letter from Elena, hospital paper, shaky handwriting. "Pearl," it began, "cancer's worsening. I need money for treatment. I can't save Sofia. I know we weren't fair, but if you help, I'll die grateful." I set it down, hands trembling, Elena admitting fault, a first. But would that erase years as their scapegoat? Die grateful, huh? I laughed, bitter, mocking. Their gratitude wouldn't bring back my sacrifices. In my room, on my bed, windows showing my flowers, but no peace. Sofia's plea, Elena's letter. They'd come because I was their last resort. "Sacrifice for family," Elena had yelled, taking my money at 17. At 8, she'd blamed me for Sofia's apples. "Nobody wants you here," Sofia had said. Now they did, out of desperation, not love. "What'll I do?" I said, my voice echoing. Anger burned. Years of exploited sacrifices, twisted love, injustice. But Sofia's sunken eyes, Elena's shaky script, real too. Help and be their scapegoat again? Refuse and live with that weight? I walked to the window. Boston's lights glowed, but my heart darkened. Their plea tested my silent rebellion. I stood at a crossroads. Sofia waited in the kitchen, eyes flicking to me, hopeful yet fearful. "I'll think about it," I said, voice hard but fragile. She nodded. "Thank you," a whisper, her first sincere thanks. Closing the door, I was alone, my decision unshaped. Their crisis couldn't overshadow my victory, but perhaps this plea was part of facing my past. Early June 2027, I woke to a warm Boston morning. In my kitchen, my coffee cup sat cold, untouched since Sofia's plea yesterday. My garden's flowers glowed through the window, purple tulips still standing, but a storm raged inside. I'm Pearl, 27, and Pearl's pages, my $150,000 savings modern home, now shadowed by my family's crisis. Elena's cancer, Sofia's $50,000 debt, they begged. But a war brewed, help or hold on to past wrongs. Sofia left yesterday. "I'll think about it," I'd said, and she'd whispered, "Thank you," stepping out. Elena's letter lay on the table, shaky script, "I'll die grateful," piercing my eyes. I sat, took it, paper thin, hospital scent clinging. "You're right," she'd said on the phone, "we weren't fair. A first admission, but could it erase 20 years? Nobody wants you here," Sofia had said, now they did. I laughed, silent, bitter. Ironic, yet it squeezed my heart. I went to my room, sank onto my bed, sheets crumpled, sleepless night. My mind drifted. At 8, Elena blamed me for Sofia's stolen apples, bruising my wrist. "Why'd you push her?" she'd said. At 17, my car savings became Sofia's laptop. "Sacrifice for family," she'd shouted. Every fault mine, every burden mine, the scapegoat. Now, their desperation rested in my hands, power sweet yet toxic. "What'll I do?" I said, voice echoing. "Help and fall back into their shadow?" Elena's treatment, Sofia's debts, not my fault, but a voice whispered, "Their family." Family? Their love was twisted, lavish for Sofia, prickly for me. I walked to the window, gazed at my garden, tulips swayed but no peace. Why me? I thought, the question I'd asked for years, now heavier. That day, I worked on Pearl's pages, packed orders, visited the depot. My hands moved mechanically, folding boxes, mind elsewhere. A customer said, "Great business you've built," smiling. I thanked them but felt hollow, my success, my victory tainted by their plea. Back home, I sat in my chair, new leather but uncomfortable. Sofia's sunken eyes surfaced. "I've no right to ask," she'd said. She was right, but that didn't quell my anger. Night brought no sleep. I tossed, stared at the ceiling. Elena's "I'll die grateful," Sofia's "I'm desperate," a buzz in my ears. What if I save them? I thought. Elena heals, Sofia clears her debts, then what? Back to scapegoat? "Nobody wants you here," Sofia had said, a wound still bleeding. Now they wanted me, desperation, not love. "Love," I said, mocking, their love had chained me. Morning, I faced the mirror, eyes sunken, face pale. Save myself or them? I asked my reflection. 2 years ago I'd left, suitcase in hand on Cold Street, saying, "Enough." That choice brought me here, independent, strong. Now their crisis questioned that strength. Refuse, and would my conscience rest? Help, and would my freedom fade? Pearl's pages was my triumph. Could their burden steal it? Wind hit my face through the window, cold, awakening. My inner conflict tested my silent rebellion. Against an unfair family, I'd carved my path. Now I had to choose, make peace with the past or cut it clean. No answer yet. But one thing clarified, whatever I did, it'd be my choice, not theirs. Mid-June 2027, a warm Boston afternoon. In my kitchen, my coffee cooled as the storm inside settled into a decision. Elena's cancer, Sofia's $50,000 debt. Their pleas had shadowed Pearl's pages and my life. I'm Pearl, 27, and 2 years ago, suitcase in hand, I'd left that house saying, "Enough." Now I'd called Sofia, I'd confront them, set boundaries, and help on my terms. The doorbell rang, my heart raced. I opened it, Sofia stood there. Same old denim jacket, but her eyes brighter. Hope or fear, I couldn't tell. "Come in," I said, voice firm yet calm. She entered the kitchen, sat, hands clasped, gaze flicking to me. "I've decided," I said, standing, keeping distance. "I'll help, but we talk first." Sofia nodded. "Okay," soft, no resistance this time. "Elena's sick, you're in debt," I said, weighing my words. "But it's not my fault. Years you made me your scapegoat." Sofia looked away, silent, listening. "At 8, Elena blamed me for your stolen apples," I said, voice rising. "At 17, my car savings went to your laptop. Nobody wants you here, you said, now you do." My words echoed, carrying years of anger. Sofia looked up. You're right, shaky. I'm sorry, Pearl. Sorry? I blinked, unexpected from Sofia. Sorry, I said, brows rising. My sacrifice is exploited for 20 years. Elena's blame, your lies. You think sorry fixes that? Sofia dropped her gaze. It doesn't, forced out. I didn't see then, Elena shielded me. I didn't see your pain. I was stupid. I paused. Anger burned, but relief crept in. For once, Sofia shed her mask. I'll give Elena $20,000 for treatment, I said firm. You $30,000, clear your debts. But this is it, no more knocking on my door. Sofia's eyes lit. Pearl, that's thank you, but I cut her off. No thanks, sharp. This isn't for family, for my peace. Know this, I'm done being your scapegoat. Sofia nodded. I understand, and this time I believed her. That evening, I called Elena in the hospital, her voice weak. Pearl, she said, breathless. I'm sending $20,000 for treatment, I said, short. She paused then, thank you, trembling. But remember, I said, cold. You weren't fair, this is your last chance. You're right, she said, another confession, but it didn't warm me. I hung up, hands steady, decision clear. Next day, I wired the money, $20,000 to Elena, $30,000 to Sofia. My account dropped to $100,000, still rich, still free. In the kitchen, I brewed coffee, cup warm, scent familiar. Done, I said, soft. I'd confronted them, Sofia's apology, Elena's gratitude, a reckoning. But I'd set boundaries, my sacrifices wouldn't be exploited again. From the window, my garden, tulips swayed in the breeze. Nobody wants you here, Sofia had said, but now I didn't want them, not like before. I'd helped, but this was my victory, not theirs. My silent rebellion found strength against an unjust family. That moment, peace bloomed. My decision preserved my freedom. The past couldn't chain me anymore. Late June 2027, a warm Boston evening, I sat in my garden. Purple tulips and yellow daffodils glowed in the last sunlight. Flowers I'd planted, silent witnesses to my triumph. In the kitchen, I brewed coffee. The machine's hum filled the air, the cup's warmth in my hands. I'm Pearl, 27, and Pearl's pages, my $100,000 savings modern home, had fully escaped my family's shadows. I'd sent Sofia $30,000, Elena $20,000, confronted, set boundaries, decided. This was my closure's dawn. Sofia texted after the money. Pearl, thank you, I promise, no more bother. Her apology lingered. I was stupid, didn't see your pain, sincere first. Elena sent a note, hospital paper. Grateful, Pearl, sorry for our mistakes. Shaky script, frail voice, no trace of the harsh Elena. I'd helped, not for love, for peace. Nobody wants you here, Sofia had said. Now they did, but I'd redefine them in my life. I sat in my chair, leather, soft, my choice. My mind drifted. At 8, Elena blamed me for Sofia's apples. 17, I'd felt helpless losing my car savings. Sacrifice for family, Elena had said, words that chained me. Scapegoat, sacrifices exploited, love twisted. Now? Those chains were broken, I'd risen by my labor, my silent rebellion freeing me. Worth it, I said, sipping coffee. Yes, worth it. 2 years ago I'd left, suitcase in hand on cold streets, saying, enough. Bookstore, café, then Pearl's pages, each step brought me here. Sofia's debts, Elena's illness, not my fault, but helping shed my last burden. I'd set boundaries, no more scapegoat. Sofia's apology, Elena's gratitude, late but closure. I stepped into the garden, walked among flowers. Earth's scent filled my nose, breeze brushed my hair. Why me? I'd asked for years, now answered. Because I'd found my worth. Despite their blame, I'd built a life. From the window my house, small mine, modern warm. Pearl's pages grew, $15,000 monthly, maybe more. My triumph, a slap to those exploited years. I thought of Sofia, maybe she'd clear her debts, fix her life. Elena, if treatment worked, she'd live. But that wasn't my story anymore, theirs was. Family, I said, not mocking, accepting. They were family, yes, but I existed in my light, not their shadow. I'd helped, but it hadn't rechained me, it strengthened my freedom. I finished my coffee, set the cup down, spotless, clean. "Nobody wants you here," Sofia had said, a wound that bled, now healed. I confronted, set boundaries, saved myself. In the garden among flowers I stood. Boston's lights twinkled, sky fading from blue to orange. "This is my story," I said firm, and this time I truly believed it. My silent rebellion, my victory over an unjust family, my closure, my freedom, and I was whole.